tell you, when I hear lights out and away we go,
I was thinking, everyone's telling me I gotta get on board with this, so let me get on board with this and see what's going on.
Wheel it up.
Yeah.
welcome to Wheel It Up, where three black women talk all things Formula One. I'm Simone, raised on the great Michael Schumacher, 7 times world champion. Now it's Team Lewis Hamilton all the way.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanice. I absolutely love Drive to Survive, all the drama and scandals, and I'm a big fan of Ferrari.
Hey guys, I'm Anita. Listen, it doesn't matter who I support. My driver changes.
Tell the truth.
Every season. Listen, I love Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is always going to be my number one, but you've always got to have that somebody on the side. Last year, it may have been a certain Red Bull somebody, Max Verstappen. But this year, well, I don't know yet. I don't know how I'm feeling, but we'll see as it goes along.
Right, it's time for us to give you a little flavour about what to expect from our podcast. Now, our first segment is called Take a Lap.
It's time to take a lap.
And this is where we take you on a journey of what happens on the race weekend. So we're giving you a bit of practice, a bit of qualifying, and of course, the most important thing, the race itself. And this is all the things that happen, all the dramas, the terrible pit stops, the wins, the loses of a race. So we're going to give you all of that in Take a Lap.
Then we've got Should Have Stayed at Home.
Should have stayed at home.
Man, listen, I'm going to tell you for free every single week what team or what driver should have stayed at home. It's basically what it says in the name. Anyone that we don't rate of that week, we're going to bring you to the hotspot and we're going to discuss why you should have stayed at home.
And I know that Anita cannot wait to tell you all who stayed at home.
Oh, I can't wait for that segment either.
Do you know, let's count how many times it will be Ferrari.
No, don't keep cussing out my team, man. Now, we like to keep up the positive vibes, though, in this podcast. And the segment that I like and I will be introducing is Starboy. So this is the driver who we think did the best for the race weekend. It doesn't have to be someone who won, but they just did a really good job. I don't know. They were a team player.
Yeah.
Made some good decisions.
They had a good weekend.
Yeah, they had a good weekend.
Maybe I'm bad. Maybe I'm bad vibes, but I don't like that segment.
You don't like Starboy?
Like, you're doing your job.
Yeah, but
That's what you're meant to do.
This is someone that had a really good race.
Yeah, and think how many times, you know, that we've had a driver who hasn't won, but you wish that they did, because actually they've just
that's me and
pulled
Pierre
something out
Gasly
the
sometimes,
bag,
I'm not
you
gonna
know.
lie.
They've gone
Do you
from
know
like
who that is?
P18
Who?
to P3 or something.
I really want that to be Lando Norris this season.
Really?
Lando, please give me a win. Give me something.
God.
I'm on my knees, Lando, please.
Let's have a conversation about how we even got into F1 and or backgrounds about how we got into motorsport. So for me, it was my dad, my granddad, and my grandma that were a big F1 fan. So it was always in my house. I always saw it. And I just loved it. I loved the noise, the cars going around a track. Like in my house on a Sunday, it was like a sea of red. So I grew up, just seeing Ferrari and just seeing the dominance. So in the 90s, I was just like, oh, I love this. I mean, old school times, I'm talking, I was watching Formula One on BBC, them times there. Like, it was no Sky Sports business, okay? That's how back in the day it was. And so I just fell in love with it. And I was just like, this is cool. And even my dad used to take me to the car show that used to happen in Birmingham at the NEC. I'll actually try and find one of the pictures we've got of when we used to go to the car show back in the day. But that's where my love of cars came from. But he used to work on cars himself, so I think that's where it sort of transpired. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And then my Sundays are now dominated by Formula One.
So unlike you, Simone, I actually didn't grow up with F1. So it actually sometimes surprises me, when you talk about that story and all your family loving F1. Because for me, when I was growing up, it just seemed like a rich white man sport. And it didn't really interest me. I thought, I'm sure it is cool. I'm sure it is great. I had so much hype around it. But actually, I don't feel like a sport like that represents me. I felt like something more boxing or basketball or even football had a bit more diversity in it, right? So for me, I just kind of didn't think it was something that I was going to be interested in. But later in life, I started to get into cars like a lot more and sustainability and stuff. And people are like, oh, you know what you should really check out? You should kind of like check out Formula E. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So I was having a little tap into Formula E and I really enjoyed that. But the problem is that the whole fan base in motorsport talks nothing other than Formula One. Obviously, there's lots of other ones. But everyone's like, Formula One, you need to get on Formula One. And, you know, growing up, like my favourite subjects were maths and science. So I didn't feel like Formula One was something for me because actually, you know, if you wanted to grow up as a woman in Formula One, you were aiming to be a grid girl. But I was there ready to be the engineer and the chief principal. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of like, oh, you know, that isn't my goal to be the grid girl sort of vibe. But after I watched Drive to Survive, I saw that there's a different side to Formula One. And that was the thing that I fell in love with, like all the drama, the gossip, the entertainment. That was it for me. Like the second 2019 first series of Drive to Survive hit, I was thinking, everyone's telling me I got to get on board with this. So let me get on board with this and see what's going on. And I was just like, and now I can't stop watching it. I'm raving. I was telling everyone. It was like my top 3 watch on Netflix. I was like, are you watching Drive to Survive? Are you watching Drive to Survive? Formula One, Formula, are you watch? It was like I was the biggest fan from nowhere. I felt like I had that upbringing then, like you had. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me that kind of drove me into Formula One.
Sis sounding like a crackhead. Do you watch Drive to Survive? Do you watch Drive to Survive?
Can I get some more? Can I get some more? Can I get some more? Any more that Drive to Survive?
That's so what it was. Honestly, I swear.
Do you know what? Okay, that's fine. I want a crackhead for Drive to Survive, but my dad was watching Formula One from early. Like, this is like, I'm talking late 90s, right? I'm still young. I'm still a baby. Am I the youngest out of all of us? No, I'm not. But anyway, I'm still young. I'm still a bit of a baby. My dad loved Michael Schumacher, so when he retired, it was more of, oh, Michael Schumacher's retired. No one's ever going to be able to be as good as him. Everyone came about. Who came about? Was it Fernando Alonso that came about?
Was it already in the mix
Kimmy
then?
Came about.
Kimi Räikkönen
all of
there.
them. My dad didn't rate none of them.
We had David Coulthard as well already earlier on.
Who? My dad did not rate none of them. But one thing about my dad is he's so African. So if you have an inch of blackness in you, he's going to support you. And that's how he started supporting Lewis Hamilton the second he came into the scene. And then he got back into it straight away. He was like, okay, F1 is back. This guy's the real deal. Look at him. He's winning races. This is a black man, you know? Like, it got really serious really quickly in my household. But I still thought it was just like a bunch of people just driving around in circles, right? And I just used to get bored of it so easily. But then Drive to Survive, like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a crackhead, like Shanice, for Drive to Survive. But Drive to Survive came about, and then it just kind of taught me more about what goes on behind the scenes, etc. So when that first ever season of Drive to Survive came out, my first instinct was, why is this Australian guy got so much screen time? But he was literally the brand at the time. So Daniel Ricciardo, if you guys didn't clock who I was talking about. But yeah, and I just kind of fell in love with everything that goes on around it. And it's kind of like what made me continue my journey with F1 and made me actually sit down on Sundays with my dad, especially during lockdown, because lockdown was a hard time, but I watched all the races with my dad. Every lap after lap, I was watching it with my dad, and it was just, I've just fallen in love with it ever since. So yeah, it's kind of like a little love story, ain't it?
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Shanice, what is it specifically about Formula One that you love?
For me, I think there's a lot of history with F1. So like the team that I obviously love supporting is Ferrari, and that's because of like the history behind the car. But I also think F1 does a lot for the car and the motor industry in general. So like they test out a lot of the things in F1 that then come into like commercial cars. Mm-hmm. And I feel like actually that's something that's really good at, I don't know how to explain it, but like I love the idea of that. I love the idea of actually we're watching something for like that's being used for the first time that could be used now by normal people everywhere in their cars. Obviously, they do need to get a bit better at being a bit more sustainable, I'm not going to lie. But I think it's coming. I've got some faith. And I also actually, the personalities, like the drivers, like I'm like a very not ambitious in like a weird, crazy way. I'm not talking like Max Verstappen, you know? I'm talking more ambitious in like, I really want to do well. I really want to push. I want to be the best version of myself. And like, that's what I could relate to in the drivers. If it wasn't because of like community and my ethnicity, actually, I can relate to them more so in a personality kind of, not crazy, but, in a personality way, where actually I get where they're coming from. I can see that they're really trying to just be the best version of themselves, world champions, win races. They're putting their heart and soul into everything. And I feel like that's what I'm like. And I love seeing that in people. And I love to kind of cheer people on who are like that, who are ambitious and they have drive. I just love it.
I love the simplicity of it. I love the fact that these are just 20 guys getting in the car, driving the best that they can drive, the overtakes, the turns. I just love it. There's some races I'm like, oh, it's hit the sweet spot. I love it. I love the fact that there's so much that goes into it, like your pit stop, your strategy, your team, everything comes into this, and like who's making the calls, all of that. I'm just like, oh, I just love this about F1. Obviously, the winning and stuff is great, and it's great to see your favorite driver, i.e. mine, Lewis Hamilton, on a podium or whatnot. But I just love it. And Saturdays and Sundays are my two favorite days when it comes to a race weekend. Because qualifying, I'm all for it. I'm like, this is it now. This is like, it's the bit where it's like, you're put into the test apart from the race, but it's like you want to see who's gonna get into Q3. Like, what's happening here? And then the race itself, let me tell you, when I hear lights out and away we go, there ain't nothing like it. I'm sorry, but that sweets me.
But do you know what? I'm just gonna touch back on what Shanice said about drive and passion. That she said not like Max. I just feel like Max gets a little bit of stick, right? He gets,
rightfully so.
He gets a lot of stick because obviously 2021 season, I was not a big fan of Max. I wasn't. But before then, I really enjoyed his ambition. I really enjoyed how much time, money, and effort that Red Bull put into him, and that's kind of like what I liked about it, because it's like putting faith in somebody that you don't know is going to do well, but you have to trust them with your car. And he was bottling it week in, week out. He was crashing. He was making wrong moves. In 2018 as well, it was just so bad. He didn't have the greatest relationship with Ricciardo. Obviously, they're like besties now, but he didn't have the greatest relationship with his teammate back then, Ricciardo. And it was just kind of like they still kept their trust in him. So I was invested in what Max Verstappen was going to become. So seeing him become world champion, even as painful as it was in 2021, seeing him become world champion, that whole season, I was just like, rah, it's all actually paying off for that Red Bull team, That Red Bull team, you can see like, once he was crowned that champion, even though it was hard to watch again, stop the Simone, please. Even though it was hard to watch again, it was kind of like what you kind of love about F1 is the team coming together, finally seeing something that has paid off, And as much as I love Lewis Hamilton, and I always want Lewis Hamilton to win, it was nice to see somebody else, and it's always nice to see that other teams can get to that point. Simone, stop doing your face like that, bro.
What, man?
It seems like you're judging me, fam.
Do you remember? You remember Abu Dhabi 2021? Okay, we all remember that.
It.
Simone,
okay, let's not talk about it.
Let's just put it like this, guys. Simone is never going to let Abu Dhabi go. You'll hear this. She'll bring it up, and you'll just have to get used to it and ride through it like me and Anita do.
Oh my god!
I just wanted to pick up actually, Anita, because you were talking about how back then I was a fan of Max, and I'm thinking, okay, Anita, so tell us a little bit more about that then. So who are you supporting this season, and why is it not Max Verstappen and Red Bull?
Yeah, tell us some more, Anita.
Listen, I will support who I want to support. Okay? First off.
Because she doesn't want to deep it. That's why she doesn't want to deep it. Go on.
What you not going to do?
Tell people the truth.
What you not going to do is put me on a hot seat. What you not going to do?
Yes, you is. Yes, you is.
But honestly, like, I did really like Max Verstappen, but sometimes you kind of look at the way he became a little bit of an asshole on the track, and I feel like sometimes when it's to do with Lewis Hamilton, there's just something in his blood that boils. I don't like that. Like, it's giving bad vibes. I'm not here for bad vibes. Let's get that straight. I don't
of
like
course.
bad vibes. I'm never here for bad vibes.
course not.
So once he started giving me the bad vibes, I think it was after Silverstone 2021, yeah. I was just like, this is a bit too heavy for me. So that's why I kind of took a step back from Red Bull. I took a step back from Max Verstappen. And then when I completely washed my hands, when he didn't let Checo.
Oh yeah, let him pass.
Oh,
I think we all felt it then, didn't we?
Yes.
We all felt that.
That race there, yeah, was one of those races where I thought you had absolutely nothing to lose. You are already going to be world champion. Red Bull will be world champions regardless. Checo just wants a little P2.
Yeah.
Help him
Just
out.
help him. Help him get
He
that.
didn't do that. And that's when I completely washed my hands. And that's why this season, I don't know who I'm supporting apart from Lewis Hamilton yet, but it will be somebody, but it's not going to be Max Verstappen.
Oh my gosh. I know probably people are probably thinking, you know, how do 3 black women even come to even talking about Formula One and wanting to do a podcast? And how do we get here? But in all honesty, it's something that I've wanted to do for such a long time. And, you know, Shanice, I remember talking to you about this ages ago. Do you remember? Like years ago?
Because I was a finalist to be the new Formula E presenter, and you reached out to me and was just like, oh, I didn't know that you were into it.
I didn't know. I didn't. And you know what the thing is? Why we're saying I didn't know, for context, so me and Shanice used to work in the same building for BBC years ago, but she never mentioned she liked cars. So I was like, what? You're a finalist?
When I was working in Coventry, I used to work at like the car events, like Motorfest and everything.
She kept that a secret.
Yeah, like I met Seen Through Glass, like Sam, that guy. Like, I was all into it.
Oh my God.
But you know what it is? It's because you don't see yourself really represented in the audience and the sport, you don't know who you can actually like approach and reach out to and talk about F1 too.
That's
like
true.
Even today, I was talking to a black woman and I was saying, oh, I'm doing this podcast, it's about F1. She was like, wait, what's F1? And I was like, you know, Formula One, the motorsport. And she was like, oh yeah, the motorsport, blah, blah, blah. But that's the point. Like, you don't know who you can reach out to and talk to about it. And that's why I think it's important that we're all sat here now to showcase that and be like, you can be anybody and be into Formula One, but just reach out to people and like even reach out to us, you know?
Exactly. And this podcast is really for people who are casual fans who love F1. We just want to be able to interact with our fans and, you know, get to know us and what we like. Me and Anita watched the Saudi race, not last year, the year before. And we were talking about Formula One and our love for it. And Anita specifically said to me, I remember it, she's like, Formula One's your baby. Like, you need to do something within this. Like, I know you want to do something. And she was like, are you ready to have this baby? And I was like, all right then.
By the way, that doesn't mean we had intercourse of any
exactly.
sort. Just an FYI.
Disclaimer, that didn't happen. But she was just like basically saying, like, you need to bring what you want to bring, your idea to fruition. And here we are, our Formula One podcast. Wheel it up.
What do I do? Is that
No, I need like the best patwa of Wheel It Up, and that's going to be like the
Wheel It Up.
Yeah, something like that.
Horns and everything going.
If anyone wants to, you can create a jingle for us, and we will be your best friends, and we'll maybe even get you on the podcast because we need a cool jingle.
Shanice, tell people where they can find us.
Yes, so we've just launched on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. That's where hopefully you might be watching us. Maybe you're listening to us on Sounds, who knows? Not even Sounds. Maybe you're listening to us on Spotify, who knows?
Any streaming platform.
So we are Wheel It Up F1 are our handles across the board. And we're just really excited to be starting this project and this journey with you guys, you know, whether you're F1 newbies, long-standing fans. It's just great to be a part of like what I think is a massive community and a massive family that all like believe in the same thing.
Sorry, what do we believe in?
F1. F1. What do you mean?
Girl, the sport.
You ruined the vibes, didn't it?
You ruined the moment. Girl, what do we believe in?
I'm so sorry.
F1. That's what we believe in. Anyhow, it's time to wave the checker flag on this episode. And we'll catch you soon.